Beneath the surface of our calm and familiar Earth lies a terrifying truth. Massive reservoirs of molten rock stretching across kilometers, simmering silently, waiting. They're not your average volcanoes. They're something far more colossal. They are supervolcanoes. And when they erupt, they don't just devastate cities. They can change the climate, disrupt ecosystems across the planet, and plunge humanity into chaos. The question is, could it happen in our lifetime? The term supervolcano conjures images of apocalyptic destruction, and for good reason. Unlike regular volcanoes, which erupt relatively often and affect local areas, a supervolcano unleashes at least 1,000 times more material. Their eruptions aren't just destructive, they're civilization-altering. They darken skies, poison air, kill crops, and drop global temperatures for years. One of the most well-known supervolcanoes lies in a serene location that sees millions of tourists each year, Yellowstone National Park in the United States. Underneath its colorful hot springs and geysers is a monster, a magma chamber that stretches for tens of kilometers. If it erupts, it could bury half the US in ash, block sunlight across the globe, and trigger what scientists call a volcanic winter. But Yellowstone isn't alone. Supervolcanoes exist across the globe. In Indonesia, the Toba supervolcano once erupted so violently that it's believed to have caused a genetic bottleneck in early humans. In New Zealand, the Taupo volcano exploded with such force that ancient Chinese texts recorded the sky turning red. In Italy, the Campi Flegrei caldera, just outside Naples, has been stirring for years, slowly inflating, quietly reminding us it's still alive. So, how do scientists define a supervolcano? The answer lies in magnitude. A supervolcano is typically classified by an eruption that measures 8 or more on the Volcanic Explosivity Index, or VEI. That's the highest level on the scale. It represents an eruption ejecting over 1,000 cubic kilometers of material, enough to blanket entire continents in ash. To grasp that scale, consider this. Mount St. Helens, which erupted in 1980, was a catastrophic event, flattening forests, killing dozens, and spewing ash across the US. But it ejected only about 1 cubic kilometer of material. A supervolcano would release 1,000 times that. It's not just an eruption, it's a planetary event. The last known super eruption occurred about 74,000 years ago at Lake Toba in Indonesia. It's estimated to have released enough ash and sulfur dioxide to dim the sun and lower global temperatures by several degrees for years. Some researchers suggest it may have triggered a near-extinction event for early Homo sapiens. Crops would have failed. Temperatures plummeted. Populations collapsed. But could it happen again? And more urgently, could it happen soon? Geologists around the world are racing to understand the signs. Supervolcanoes don't erupt without warning. They exhibit a variety of pre-eruption signals: ground deformation, earthquake swarms, rising gas emissions, and temperature changes in geothermal areas. Yellowstone, for example, is closely monitored with satellites, seismometers, GPS sensors, and gas detectors. Every little twitch of the ground is recorded and analyzed. Still, predicting a super eruption is not an exact science. Magma chambers can stay active for tens or even hundreds of thousands of years without erupting. Just because magma is present doesn't mean it's ready to explode. Eruption depends on pressure, gas buildup, rock composition, and fault lines. It's like a pressure cooker that may or may not blow. One of the reasons scientists are cautious is because Yellowstone has erupted 3 times in the last 2.1 million years. Each event spaced roughly 600,000 to 700,000 years apart. The last eruption was about 640,000 years ago. That timeline has led to speculation. Are we overdue? But volcanologists warn against using such simplified math. Volcanoes don't keep schedules. Geologic time is messy. We might be thousands of years early or late. But the fear isn't just about one location. It's about a global network of sleeping giants. In South America, the Andes are full of massive volcanic systems. In Japan, calderas like Aira show signs of complex magma plumbing. In Russia, the Kamchatka Peninsula is one of the most volcanically active regions on Earth. And then there's Iceland, where volcanic eruptions can disrupt air travel across continents. If a supervolcano did erupt in our lifetime, the immediate devastation would be local and horrific. Millions could be displaced or killed. But the long-term consequences could be even more frightening. Volcanic ash would be blasted into the stratosphere, where it could linger for months or years. That ash would reflect sunlight, cooling the Earth, a phenomenon known as global dimming. Temperatures could fall dramatically. Crops would fail from lack of sunlight. Global food shortages could follow. Water supplies would be contaminated. Respiratory illnesses would surge due to ash inhalation. Economic systems could crash. Entire regions might become uninhabitable. This is not speculation. We've seen milder versions of this before. In 1815, Mount Tambora erupted in Indonesia. It was not a supervolcano, but it was powerful enough to cause the year without a summer in 1816. Snow fell in June in North America. Crops died in the fields. Starvation and disease spread. That was from a VEI-7 eruption. A supervolcano would be worse. So what is being done about it? Scientists are not just monitoring, they're modeling. Supercomputers simulate eruption scenarios, predicting ash dispersion, temperature drop, and emergency response needs. Governments are crafting contingency plans. FEMA has conducted tabletop exercises simulating a Yellowstone eruption. International groups are studying what would happen if volcanic ash grounded all global air traffic for weeks. Some researchers are even exploring radical geoengineering ideas, like drilling into supervolcanoes to release pressure. But this carries its own risks. What if drilling triggers the very eruption it's trying to prevent? It's a controversial and dangerous proposition. The reality is sobering. We can't stop a supervolcano, but we can prepare. Early warning systems, international cooperation, and emergency planning can save lives. Investment in food storage, alternative energy, and atmospheric monitoring can buffer some of the worst impacts. And continued research is our best tool, because knowledge buys time. For now, the supervolcanoes sleep. Yellowstone steams. Toba lies quiet. Taupo holds its breath. But they are not gone. And they remind us, beneath the illusion of permanence, our planet is alive, restless, and capable of reshaping the world in an instant. So, could a supervolcano erupt in our lifetime? It's possible. Unlikely in any given year, but not impossible in our lifespans. And if it does, the world we know could change overnight. Thanks for staying with us on this deep dive into one of Earth's most terrifying natural forces. If this video opened your eyes to the raw power hidden beneath our feet, give it a like, share it with someone who's into geology, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. We've got more fascinating explorations coming on the science, the engineering, and the hidden truths shaping our world. Until then, stay informed, stay curious, and remember, the ground beneath you has a story, and sometimes it roars.